Last time on Ace Attorney Investigations. Edgeworth speaking. Allow me to inform you of every nook and cranny in the last episode. From the information I obtained from Miss Byrde, we discovered that she was asked by Portsman to unlock his door. However, we didn't find any trace of her fingerprints on the doorknob. Because of this, a note under his door, and other pieces of evidence, I came to one conclusion.
The mastermind behind this murder is none other than Mr. Portsman.
Through an interrogation, I theorized that Portsman actually got Maggey to open my door. As it finally seemed like we had him on the ropes, he slipped away. He was down at criminal affairs, and nothing I did could prove otherwise. Can we find some sort of contradiction? Can we prove that he's the murderer? Oh, who am I kidding? You guys saw the beginning of the case, you know it's him. Watch as we finally bring him down in the finale to this case on Ace Attorney Investigations. Next!
The truth is out there, and I will use my powers of deduction to wipe that smirk off your face, Mr. Portsman. That's it! Evidence points to the shelves being disturbed once before and once after the murder. But who is to say that the person who did it the second time is the same as the first? Which could mean that there was another person who paid a visit to my office tonight. Which would easily explain away his alibi. It wasn't even him who threatened me. If indeed there were two culprits, then that resolves the contradiction behind our murder weapon. Despite the fact that there are 2 bullets here in this room, the murder weapon only shows signs of being fired once, leaving the possibility that the other bullet was fired from the other visitor's gun. Furthermore, if we suppose that the second culprit's gun was the one that was pointed at my back... Objection! Mr. Portsman! It seems that I need to amend my assumptions regarding this case.
Great, so you finally come to your senses.
Mr. Edgeworth!
Sir! What are you saying?
This has been a big misunderstanding on my part from the start. I had assumed that the person I ran into was the killer, but that may not be the case.
What do you mean?
The person I ran into was just your average thief.
A thief? But, sir, doesn't that cause some sort of contradiction in the facts?
Not at all. It simply means that the killer was someone else. And it means that in actuality, 2 culprits stole into my office tonight.
Like, what do you mean, 2?
It explains both why my shells were disturbed twice and how there were 2 guns. Mr. Portsman tricked Miss Byrde and gained entry into my office.
Objection! Now you're just leading the argument. You still don't have any actual proof, you know.
If you could please go along with my hypothetical scenario for now, Mr. Portsman. In the end, if you really are innocent, you should have nothing to worry about. Now then, returning to my scenario, Mr. Portsman was out to steal something from me. Which is why he checked my secret safe and ransacked my shelves. This is the first time.
So then, this would be when the files were put back in the wrong order, right?
Correct. And then, just when he was about to look somewhere else, who should walk in but his own partner, Mr. Faith?
But why did Mr. Faith come into your room, sir?
He probably had business with Mr. Portsman, which is why he was in the area. But that's when he noticed sounds coming from my office, would be my guess.
Oh, because you were supposed to be away, right?
And he must have thought it was odd, so he came into this office to check it out. Genius!
Correct. And as a detective, that was the right thing to do.
But when he came in, he found his own partner standing there.
Because it was Mr. Portsman, Mr. Faith probably let his guard down. But Mr. Portsman was not so merciful as to let him leave alive. He waited for a chance and stole Mr. Faith's gun from him, and then... he killed him. He silenced Mr. Faith for catching him in the act of stealing. This was the moment in which the first shot was fired, the one that landed in my files. Following that, Mr. Portsman wiped the gun down and left it behind as he made his exit. He could afford to do that because he had also left the fake dying message behind.
Trying to pin this crap on me. You're one hell of a troublemaker, you know that?
Well, if things were as simple as that, then all would be solved. However, there was yet another visitor to my room, and this is where it gets complicated.
There was another?
Visitor, sir?
Yes, and this other person's objective was also to steal something from me. Now then, even after Mr. Portsman left, the door to my office remained unlocked. However, this new visitor had no way of knowing that, and so they stole the master key from the security guard's room, and then entered my room and searched through my shelves. That was the second time they were disturbed, and it seems the thief found their prize.
The stolen zero file, right, sir?
Correct. Only, just as the thief was about to leave with the file, I appeared. The thief then threatened me with their own gun and made their escape. The second bullet was fired during that brief encounter.
So the shelves getting messed up twice and the 2 bullets. It was all because 2 different people were doing those things at 2 different times.
Precisely. So now do you see, Mr. Portsman? The person I met was just a thief, and was not, in fact, Mr. Faith's killer. Your alibi for the time frame in which I ran into the other person is now irrelevant. Because we now know that the murder took place during the first culprit's visit.
Objection!
What's so funny this time, pal?
Absolutely splendid. Your scenario explains everything.
Of course it does! It's Mr. Edgeworth after all!
Don't tempt him.
But you know, it still doesn't change the fact that it's all circumstantial.
Ugh.
Supposing if, and that's a big if, your theory is right, it would indeed render my alibi, which has withstood scrutiny, mind you, irrelevant.
Enough with the incessant preening!
But there is still one defining point of your argument for which you have no evidence. Your supposition that I was the first visitor.
I had no clue! Hold me back, Mr. Edgeworth! You can't let him get away with that! I'm gonna get him!
But he has a point. I have absolutely no proof at this point.
Don't say that, sir.
I don't believe this! Don't worry, Maggey. I'll do something if I must.
You know something? I find your attitude to be somewhat peculiar, Mr. Edgeworth. If the person you met really was just a plain old thief, then why is that person not your main suspect? That is, if your theory is correct. That thief you ran into should be the real suspect, wouldn't you say? We should be out there looking for that thief right now. They might still be nearby. I hate to repeat myself, but as I've already said, I was training in my room. And when Jim came to deliver some evidence to me, I was down at criminal affairs. So I can't be expected to know what happened around here after I left.
So, you think we should be out there looking for the thief?
Of course! Now isn't the time to be wasting time on dead-end discussions.
I don't think it's at all dead-ended. I find your alibi to be fascinating. Let's continue where we left off, shall we? I know he's lying. I know he was here at the scene of the crime. I just have to find a way to prove it. But what evidence to use? I know that letter from his partner must hold the key, but how to use that against him? Some of us manage to train our muscles and our brains at the same time, you empty-headed lackwit. Perhaps the basketball goal? No, anyone could have moved that. And the note only proves he's gone. That could mean he was at criminal affairs. Perhaps something in an earlier statement. We know the thief must have been nearby soon because they dropped this off after taking out the files. But no, that doesn't prove he was here either. I think I may need a little more information from another statement. Hold it! Actually, no, I wouldn't.
Why not?
That's elementary. The dying message, of course. Mr. Faith's killer very clearly left those letters on the spines of those files. And it was after they were on there that the thief stole one of them.
You mean the Zero files, right, sir?
And that's how we also know the letters themselves were a setup and not from Mr. Faith. If the thief was the killer, do you think they would try to undermine themselves?
Ah! Maybe the killer just didn't think of that either. Yes, that must be it. Maybe. Just maybe.
Hold it! Once escaped, I highly doubt a thief would linger nearby.
Well, you never know. Maybe they didn't get what they were really after.
Oh, you talk like you know quite a bit about this thief.
It's nothing like that. I have no idea about anything, after all.
That doesn't surprise me. I wonder if that file could be used to prove that he was here, or at least that the thief cannot possibly be nearby anymore. It's worth a shot.
Objection!
That wasn't correct. Perhaps if I presented it on another statement...
Objection!
Oh dear. I do hate it when I'm wrong in public. Not one of my finer moments.
Hold it!
But according to Mr. Faith's note...
Hold on, I thought we already cleared that up. Didn't we say that Jim left that note for me in the early evening? If you have any proof that he left it at a different time, say just before he was murdered.
I don't have any, no.
You see? So I insist again that I was in my office the entire
I
time.
think I'd like to hear more about this.
Hold it!
Why didn't you go there with Mr. Faith?
That's because he said he was tired and was gonna take a quick nap. You know those sofas in the hallway? He likes to sleep on those. It's one of his habits. Well, it was.
And what of the evidence he brought?
They were things related to yesterday's case. Just 2 items. A gun and a pendant.
Interesting. This piece of testimony seems too crucial to let slip through the cracks. I think I've finally caught you, Mr. Portsman. Your own incompetence has finally signed your warrant. There's a little something in this note I'd like you to read for me.
Objection!
Only 2 pieces. I believe the proper phrase here is, you fail.
Excuse me?
You fail as a prosecutor, Mr. Portsman, as you intend to keep evidence hidden from me.
What are you talking about? I haven't hidden anything from you.
Well, here's a piece I think you should read. Carefully.
It says that Mr. Faith was bringing 3 pieces.
Yes, and this is the victim's real dying message to you, Mr. Portsman.
I can't believe to get tripped up by simple arithmetic!
Where is the missing piece of evidence?
It's...
You have it, don't you? Only the guilty would make such a face. Detective Gumshoe!
Already ahead of you, Mr. Edgeworth. I'll pat this guy down from head to toe.
Don't come any closer! I'm warning you!
Hold still. This is all part of the investigation, pal. So don't even think about stopping me.
No!
Hey, what's this? He had this weird 1990s device on him, sir.
Despite what you said, it would appear that you do have something to hide.
Why hide something like that? Is it embarrassing to own a VHS player?
There's only one reason why anyone would hide evidence of this caliber. Because it would unequivocally point to that person himself as the real killer. Let's examine this videotape in a little more detail. For the section of the tape that will drive the last nail into his coffin. Let's look at the labeling and see if it illuminates anything, shall we? The KG-8 incident.
That's a police case number, sir. Does that mean this video is evidence from that case?
Interesting. However, what's recorded on this isn't what's important right now. Let's give the casing a thorough once-over. What else can I find? Aha!
Ah, gee, someone spilled ketchup all over the... Oh my god, that's blood, isn't it?
Yes, And I believe this is what the good prosecutor was trying to hide from us. This blood is still fresh.
Oh yeah, I could smell that. You think this might be Detective Faith's blood?
No! No! You've got it all wrong!
No amount of denial can save you. We have but to run a blood test to find the truth. You told us that you had received evidence from the victim earlier. Now you will tell us when and how did the victim's blood find its way onto this video.
Yeah, it's totally suspicious.
Was it at the moment of his death? Did Detective Faith have this videotape on his personage when you killed him?
You know very well there's no way to prove that.
Not even if we were to examine this tape for fingerprints. If I had to take a guess, I'd say that the only ones on here would belong to the murderous you and Mr. Faith.
No! Impossible! I'm...
Mr. Portsman has been placed under arrest for the murder of Detective Buddy Faith, sir.
Very good.
And the results we got back from the lab techs on the tape turned out to be real solid, sir. The blood work came back, and it was definitely Mr. Faith's blood on there. And as a bonus, they were also able to lift a few of Mr. Faith's fingerprints as well.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Edgeworth. I still can't believe I got to see your cool deduction skills outside the courtroom. I'm impressed beyond words, sir.
It was nothing. I'm just sorry you got caught up in a murder in my office. Please accept my apologies.
Oh, it was nothing, really, compared to what I've been through, I mean. I consider myself lucky that it was only a burglary and a murder this time, sir. If it had been a holdup or a hostage situation, I'd have thrown my hands up in the air. I think I'm finally rising up from a goddess of misfortune to just an unlucky person.
Something tells me we should have hired a different person for security detail.
You know something, sir? That Mr. Portsman really was one corrupt prosecutor.
And why would you say he was corrupt?
Well, I did hear that there were a number of suspicious things related to his court cases. There's even rumors about how some of the evidence he uses is forged, sir.
Forged evidence, huh?
And they said he even decided not to prosecute a few cases for some really vague reasons.
Oh, that guy was a complete disgrace to the entire profession.
We never did get around to asking what his reason was for breaking into my office.
Yeah, you're right. Whenever we got near that topic, he just clammed up.
Although we can be pretty certain it was to steal something.
This is just between you and me, sir, but there's a rumor that some sort of huge organization is involved behind the scenes.
Oh? Well. With Mr. Portsman not willing to divulge anything, it certainly lends credence to that rumor. It would seem that we haven't heard the last of this.
Huh? Then Mr. Portsman isn't a douchebag?
I didn't say that, but rather that there are still many more mysteries for us to solve. For example, we still haven't figured out the significance to this piece of evidence. Take that! The person who stole this file, the other villain of the night.
Yeah, I wonder who it was.
And what happened to the stolen pages? I wonder, who in the world was it that held me up at gunpoint?
Mr. Edgeworth, sir.
Yes?
I came across this while I was processing your office earlier, sir.
This card!
What is it, sir? Is that a bird or something on there? It looks like a Pokemon.
It's not just any bird. It is the mark of the raven, a three-legged raven. Even you should know what that is, Detective.
All right. It's about that thing, isn't it? That great thief that everyone's talking about.
Yes, it is the mark of the great thief Yatagarasu. Under the mark of a legendary bird, the Yatagarasu is noble to the end, a modern Robin Hood. Labeled mysterious and phantom-like, the yatagarasu appears and vanishes at will. Though we don't know much about this thief's ultimate goal, we do know the targets. The yatagarasu likes to find and make public evidence of corrupt dealings of all sorts. The theft is always performed in silence, and always with perfection. Once a target is chosen, no dramatic calling card or announcement is sent forth. Instead, the chosen corporation is infiltrated without even the target noticing. Some days later, the evidence that was found is sent out to the mass media, along with this single card. Although it has been a while since the yatagarasu's last appearance.
Hey, Mr. Edgeworth, look! Something's written on the back!
What? Let me see.
It's the location of where the thief put the stolen files.
So, the person who stole the contents of the file was the yatagarasu? Yatagarasu. Organization. Quite a few key words are popping up in this mystery. The murder in my office. The return of the great thief Yatagarasu. Looking back, I can't say I didn't see these events coming.
For they were heralded by the incidents that began to occur 2 days ago.
Objection! Objection! Hold it! Hold it! Eureka! Take that! Take that! Next time!
I am one of your flight attendants today, Rhoda Tenero.
You there!
I must ask that you please return to your seat.
He is giving the runabout! Huh? I don't require an interpreter! I speak English just well!
I am sure that you are the perpetrator of this crime.
Which means that I have a first-class killer on my hands.
Let's start project.